As recorded in the Bible, can you tell me who the first Christian convert in Europe was? Was it A, a Roman soldier? Was it B, a servant? Or was it C, a business owner? If you selected answer C, you would be correct. But here's the fun part. When I said it was a business owner, did you imagine a guy? If you did, then you'd be wrong. The first named Christian convert in Europe, as recorded in Acts 16, is a successful businesswoman who would later open her home as a place of worship. Lydia, a Gentile God worshiper from the city of Thyatira, a dealer in purple cloth. And Lydia has a story. Driven by a vision while on a missionary journey to spread the gospel, Paul, Silas, and Timothy set sail to journey to Macedonia. And after landing and traveling through a number of locations, they come to Philippi. And while there, they have a chance encounter. And here's what's recorded in Acts 16. On the Sabbath day, we went outside the gate by the river, where we supposed there was a place of prayer. And we sat down and spoke to the woman who had gathered there. A certain woman named Lydia, a worshiper of God, was listening to us. She was from the city of Thyatira and a dealer in purple cloth. The Lord opened her heart to listen eagerly to what was said by Paul. When she and her household were baptized, she urged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come and stay at my home." And she prevailed upon us. Now, it seems so simple, but there is much more culturally to this story. And if you blink, you miss it. Because this chance encounter will forever change the landscape of Christianity, giving birth to its growth in Europe. And it's a story not just about faith, but it's a tale that shines a spotlight on the extraordinary role of women in the early Christian faith that in many ways has been lost to us. Thyatira was a city in the ancient region of Lydia, now part of modern-day Turkey, and it was known for its vibrant commercial activity. And Thyatira lay southeast of Pergamum, approximately 40 miles inland across sea from Athens. Famous for its red variety of purple dye, Thyatira was a hub for textiles and trade. And from this city emerged Lydia. Now, we don't know if Lydia was her original name. There's plenty of scholarly debate about that. But we do know that's how she came to be known in the early Christian world. And some say she was a self-made businesswoman. Others say she was a widow who inherited a thriving business from her husband. But what we do know is that Lydia was a successful business owner in the ancient world, in an area dominated by male business owners. From the text, it's clear that Lydia had servants at her call, owned property, and this is very important, apparently had enough clout that she was free to invite a number of visiting foreign men to her home without fear of societal repercussions, nor did she need to ask anybody's permission to do so. And this is a massive deal that we often miss. Because in an era when women's rights were not on par with those enjoyed by contemporary Western women, the ability of Lydia to invite a group of foreign guys into her home without a man's approval seems rather extraordinary, risking a pretty nasty scandal. But inviting them, Lydia's clear demonstration of her social influence, reflected in her autonomy over her household and the ownership and hospitality of her residence, which she extended to Paul and his fellow travelers, shows her authority. And early hearers of this story would have picked up on that immediately, a detail us moderns really miss. Now, Lydia's meeting with the Apostle Paul by the riverside, it wasn't a coincidence. First, Paul and his crew were guided to Philippi by a vision, and Paul's normal means of evangelizing was to begin his mission in a new city by engaging the local Jewish men in the community. But it appears that Philippi lacked a formal synagogue, possibly due to an insufficient number of Jewish fellows. And instead, Philippi had a prayer house, which they were typically located near a water source for ritual washings. But at arrival, Paul and his companions found mainly women there. So they sat down, engaged with the women, and thus Lydia was introduced to the story of Jesus. And here's the thing. The fact that she is named in the text is extremely important. And it seems Paul has no issue sharing the gospel with her. Lydia wasn't a Jew, but she was a God worshiper, which already shows us that she is quite different than the normal Roman. And it's Acts that says that God opens her heart gladly. Lydia receives the news of Jesus and has her entire household baptized. And now we're kind of seeing why God gave Paul that vision, am I right? Lydia's affluence is evident from her ownership and control over her own home. Acts 16:15 clearly states that it was her household that was baptized, highlighting her independence and authority. Without consulting any male relative, she offered hospitality to Paul and his companions. It's a gesture that they accepted. This lack of mention of a husband or father in Lydia's story, it's remarkable, as women during biblical times were often identified by their relationship to a male figure, but not Lydia. Her home was not only a reflection of her wealth, but also of her influence and soon leadership within the early church body. Her home was spacious enough to host Paul and his fellow missionaries, as well as her own household. And we know later from Acts 16:40, Lydia's home also served as the meeting place for the church in Philippi, illustrating her vital role in the early Christian community. It's to Lydia's that Paul and Silas return after their incident at the prison. And it's from Lydia's home that Paul and his crew launch out to Thessalonica. We got to get this. The very act of hosting gatherings where the worship of a new Jewish Messiah was central, rather than honoring an emperor or any of the acceptable pagan deities at the time, it would have jeopardized both Lydia's standing in the community and her business. But here's Lydia, standing strong. And we know from Paul's later lessons to the Thessalonians, stuff happens. Paul talks about the persecution in Philippi and Thessalonica. Do you get it? Lydia's story is more than a historical footnote. It's a rich tapestry of faith, courage, and leadership that transcends her time. In a period when women's roles were often constrained and defined by their relationship to men, Lydia stands out as an extraordinary figure. Successful business owner, a courageous follower of a new faith, and a central figure in the expansion of Christianity into Europe. She exemplified a remarkable capacity to transcend societal norms and their expectations. She's even regarded as a saint in the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox faiths, with even some Eastern Orthodox sects believing in her leadership so much, she's been given the title equal to the apostles. Her encounter with Paul was not a mere chance meeting, but a pivotal moment that would forever alter the course of human history. Her immediate and open embrace of the gospel, her willingness to use her home as a place of worship, her clear authority within her household, and her community leadership resonates with us as a testament to her strengths and her convictions. Lydia's influence weren't just confined to the business world, but extended into the spiritual realm, setting a stage for Christianity's growth in Europe and exemplifying the significant role women played in the early church. Her story, when you dive deeper into it, serves as a timeless inspiration, a testament to the power of faith to break barriers, the courage to risk reputation for a greater cause, and the ability to lead in a world that might not always recognize your right to do so, even today. Lydia's life invites us to reflect on our own capacity for faith, leadership, and transformation, reminding us all that faith knows no bounds and the impact of one person's conviction, even from a single chance encounter, can echo through the ages. God bless.